Here we go. Hey, I'm back with Cruising Thrill, Field Cruise here. Second part with Mr. Mark Freeland. So Mark's got a really unique job. I had no idea what he did until he showed me a picture. I thought he was in a subway underground or something. But so Mark, what do you do for a living?
Well, I work on sewer and water main infrastructure. So most people have no idea what that entails. They kind of picture pipes, and yep, that's pretty much correct. But the construction of those pipes is sometimes a huge undertaking, and the one I'm working on currently is 7 meters in diameter. So if you can picture it, it's I don't know, like say 20, 25 feet in diameter, circular pipe.
Well, where's
Uh,
where's where is it? Where's
it's
where?
under it's underneath Lake Ontario, so
Wow.
it's part of a $3 billion infrastructure project in the city of Toronto. So they're upgrading the sewer system, the wastewater treatment plant at Ashbridges Bay, and this is one part of the project as a whole.
Is that where
Um,
you start from? Is that where you ended the tunnel? Like from there?
yeah, that's correct. So like we're right on by Tommy Thompson Park. I think we're right on the edge of the lake. That's where we sunk the shaft,
Yeah.
which is I think actually 15 meters in diameter. So this is a massive hole in the earth, and it goes down 90 meters. It is a very big hole in the
So
earth.
if
Yeah.
we can see it, if I go in the air, I'll see it, right? I'll see this.
Yeah. Like, let's say if you had a drone or something like that, or
Yeah.
or took a helicopter flight, or if you took off from Billy Bishop Airport or were landing there, you would probably fly directly over top of the site.
So
If you head
cool.
down Leslie, what, near that area, you'll see gigantic smokestacks
Yeah,
and
I've seen
one
those.
of
Yeah.
the enormous ones. It's concrete, so it's a gray one. That is for the Ashbridges Bay wastewater treatment plant.
Wow.
Uh, Yeah, it's massive.
So you go in there, you go down and they park there in the morning, and what you go, you take an elevator to way down.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess my typical day, and I commute from Mississauga, so I get to enjoy Toronto traffic, which I really don't miss. You know, from having lived and worked down here in the downtown core. Um, I did that for a long time before I got into construction, but
How long's the elevator ride from top to bottom? Like how
it
long?
takes over a minute.
Oh, just a
And
minute. Okay.
it's exactly the kind of elevator that you might see on the side of a high-rise building during construction.
Okay, like that.
It's electrical, and it's got a car on it that says you can fit 30 guys in it, but you can't. Like
Okay.
it's it's
How did
cramped.
how did this whole stuff? They built a section and they submerged it in the water. That's how they started.
No, uh, right. So that's all landfill, right? Like that area. That's
Yeah.
all reclaimed land, or landform.
Yeah.
So the first uh, about 70 or 80 feet of it was all actually garbage. That that's just a reality. It's like garbage from the 1950s through the 1970s.
Mhm.
Uh, so at first, what they'll do is they'll put caissons. So they'll drill a hole and then fill it with concrete. So they go through all of this, what we call overburden in the landfill, until you get to bedrock. Um, in this case, shale. So they surround you, they sink all of these piles in a circle and right next to each other, connected, in order to create a tube of concrete through this horrible ground to protect us while we dig. And basically, you just put an excavator inside of that ring of caissons, and then you just start digging. And the excavator sinks itself into the earth, and you use a crane to move the landfill out. And So we found all kinds of stuff, bricks, rail ties.
Anything like historical,
We found a glass bottle from some obscure brand of cola that was only made for a few years, from 1955 to 1958 or something like that, right? Like very unique bottle, and there was a lot of brick, I guess, from them demolishing things in the past, like 50 to 70 years ago, and then just dumping this. They just dumped it in the lake. I mean,
dumping it on.
that's where a lot of this land, anything south of Front Street, that's where it came from.
When did you guys start this project at Ash Bridges?
So I've been there for 3.5 years, and I would say that I was there at the very beginning of the project. So we were basically in a field right next to the lake, and we just started with like a sea can or a container, and that's where we built our change room. You know what I mean? And that was the only thing on site when we first began. And now, I mean, we have a lot of buildings. We've got all kinds of trailers and offices, and obviously this gigantic hole in the ground now.
So they asked the tunnel from Ash Bridges Bridge. Where's it going? Like where's the tunnel going to end?
Yeah. Okay. So this is called an outfall tunnel, and they're starting to build them a lot larger now, a lot longer, because part of the problem with the older outfalls. Okay, so maybe I should start with what an outfall is. Once your sewage and wastewater, so just think that the majority of this is going to not just be poop. It's going to be anytime you use water, your dishwasher, your shower, your washing machine. So you would say the majority of it is, it's just used water. So before that goes out back out into the lake, it goes to a treatment facility. Those treatment facilities, they remove all the solids, and they will actually try and kill any weird bacteria and crap like that before we put it back in the lake, because it's a cyclical system. So that's the reality of what happens when you turn your tap on, and after you've washed your dishes, it's going to a treatment plant, and then it's going right back into Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario is where we get our drinking water. So allowing untreated sewage or poorly treated sewage to go into the lake has a direct impact on our drinking water quality and supply, right? So in the past, the current outfall from Ash Bridges Bay is less than a kilometer from the shore. So that means that a lot of that sewage water ends up back on Toronto's beaches.
Really?
And so that's why after significant rainfalls, the beaches have these warnings and are closed. It's because the plant doesn't have enough capacity, and because the wastewater and sewage lines in Toronto, in some cases, are connected. So when there's a significant rainfall, a lot of extra water goes to the treatment facility, and they can't treat the water properly. So in order not to have flooding and a disaster at the treatment plant, they just open the gates and let it right into the lake. Because it goes out into the lake so close to the shore, it just gets washed back up on the shore, and then you get people getting sick for going onto the beaches, right?
Oh wow.
So this tunnel that we're building is the largest of its kind in North America. It's a Discovery Channel record-breaking stuff that we're doing down there, and it actually goes 3.5 kilometers from the shore to put that treated water now much further from Toronto's beaches and protecting, our shoreline as well as our water supply. So this is the goal.
I saw you said a video the other day about one of the machines doing all the
Yeah,
that was kind of neat. I was like, wow.
yeah, we have some, or the tunneling industry is very interesting, because a lot of times you're doing stuff that hasn't been done before. So in many cases, you're inventing machines in order to do a task that hasn't nobody's ever faced this challenge before. So there's a
It's
lot
kind
of
of a lot of the first, right?
ingenuity, yeah. And
I thought you were building a submarine. You sent me the picture there a while back, and you wouldn't tell me what it was. And it looked like
it's a big hole.
it
It's
looks like
a
a big subway system. Yeah, but it's all
You
for
could
water.
drive a tractor trailer in this tunnel.
Wow.
You certainly could. I mean, it's pretty enormous. Like, and to think that it will be 100% completely filled with wastewater going out into the lake. I mean, you know,
When's it supposed to be finished by? Next year?
uh, I think they projected that the project would take 5 years.
5 years?
But I don't know. I mean, uh, it's impossible to say what challenges that project will face going forward. So, but if you look at the majority of tunneling projects, they are almost they never finish on time. If you look at the Eglinton Crosstown, for example, another major tunneling project that is happening in Toronto, or any of the other subway projects, like
That's your field. So let me ask you a question. That's your field of expertise. They said delayed because of the tunneling in I think Eglinton Station at Yonge and Eglinton. Something they were digging further down. They had more complications about the bedrock or something like that. I can't remember now.
okay, I don't know. I'm not familiar with everything, but my understanding is that that project is not deep enough to actually get to quote bedrock. Now, our tunnel is in bedrock, obviously, because we're going underneath the lake, so we have to go deep enough to be in rock. But I don't think that the Eglinton Crosstown is actually deep enough to be in rock, which means that they're in the softer ground that is above the bedrock, and that makes it significantly more dangerous for tunneling operations. I mean, it would be like digging a tunnel in that uh, snowbank, at the
Okay.
end of the
Yeah.
driveway. Okay, that's sort of like tunneling in soft ground. Whereas if you think about drilling a hole in a rock, that's relatively much safer. Like one tunnel is, has this risk of collapse and has ground pressure. Whereas if you're drilling through a much stronger substrate, then obviously your tunnel has more integrity and is going to be that much safer, right? So I'm just guessing here that the majority of the problems they're having with the Eglinton line is that they're not in bedrock. So it's much more dangerous for them to excavate and do tunneling operations when they don't have a substrate or whatever, like material that they're digging through. The type of ground that they're digging through isn't just inherently more dangerous, right?
Great. Yeah, another delay. Well, I'm not too far. I drive by there every day. It's like it's so quiet. It's all done. Like the whole area, like my area's all done. All the platforms and all the subway stuff or stuff. It's funny the way they built it. I don't know if you've seen it on my side, but they have the stops, but there's no shelters there. There's no shelters at each stop. It's just an open plexiglass. It's all flat. So I'm looking like in the winter time, like there's no bus shelters like the old ones. So I'm thinking, how they gonna are they gonna put something in? I guess, or I don't know how they do. Are they gonna add it later, or that's permanent, or what? You
I don't
know?
know. The parts that I've seen are the underground portions.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So what
It's
do you
on
think of the since that's just your field there? We're talking about the Gardner Day the other day, but do you think it can be done? But you use a tunnel guy. They had theories about putting an underground highway, get rid of the Gardners years ago. They said it couldn't be done.
I honestly, I don't think so. I think you would have to dig so deep, um, and just it's so built up around there that I can't see it. Like you'd have to be so deep in order to underneath the ground there in the city. You're gonna have so many layers of parking garages, utilities, and all kinds of other underground infrastructure, right? That for them to bury the Gardner, they'd have to dig so deep and so far. They're so close to the lake. Also, I think it would be fraught with so much peril. And realistically too, it can't just all be underground. I mean, if in order for it to be a functioning roadway, it has to come up to the surface, and that's where I don't think it's going to be possible. You need on ramps and off ramps. So um, and it's just so congested down in the downtown core there that I don't think there's no room for it, which sounds
Think maybe
weird.
better. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
there's lots of room. It's going to be under the ground, but
Yeah, yeah.
actually, there is no room for it because how are you going to get into and out of it? I don't think it's possible.
What about just building it like a flat highway, not a highway, but like a flat major way, and instead of like people going under it, like before, have build bridges built over it, like say an intersection, do it in sections, right? I don't
Yeah,
think because
I
they
guess
still
the
got
only thing about
traffic problems is chaotic, like unless they
yeah,
there's no other avenues to build a highway in that area. Like that, it's so congested. They built it over the years, right? Even the
yeah.
GVP, the Don Valley Park, the way it was structured. But not it's like I watched a documentary in Chicago. They built the highway underground. They had a gardener like us, and then they got rid of the gardener, their version of the gardener. But they built underground first, the highway, and then they got rid of the gardener. And then 20 years later, they still have traffic problems.
Or was it was it Boston the Big Dig?
Yeah, I think Boston, Massachusetts. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Boston. But
I met somebody that worked on that project, and
oh yeah,
that was another project that I worked on in Pickering, where we were expanding uh, actual sewer lines. You know what I mean? So in this case, we're building a tunnel to deal with effluent or the treated wastewater. This is the second one that I've worked on of this variety, but the first one that I worked on was actually just a sewer line and in up by Highway 7 and through Scarborough and Pickering.
I mean, gardeners like
Oh
it's like
yeah,
a
oh, yeah. I met a guy that worked on the Big Dig, and he had one of those comical Boston accents, and but his speciality was actually freezing the ground. So when you're in this soft ground, in order to make it safe for you to do tunneling operations, it's kind of like how a hockey rink works, where they will super chill like an antifreeze, and then keep it enclosed in pipes, right? And that's what's run underneath the concrete at a hockey arena. But they sink these pipes into the ground and then run this super chilled liquid through them, and it freezes the soft ground in order to make it hard and safe to excavate, right?
hmm, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fascinating operation, like
Wow.
because we had some soft ground in Pickering on the Southeast Collector project, and in order to make it safe for us to sink shafts and build connection tunnels, that's what we did. We froze the ground, and then it became super hard, like concrete, so very safe to work in. And then once we finished installing the final concrete liner, then we could turn the freezing off, and we were safe at that point because we were now surrounded by.
Cool. Wow. So that's to ask quite a funny question. You're underwater, under the bedrock in this tunnel.
Yes.
How do you feel? Like a lot of people call it claustrophobic. Like, do you feel any claustrophobic when you're down there? Like, so deep down, or
I don't know. I feel like my for the majority of my working life. So prior to being in tunneling, I was a stagehand, but I was also a rigger. So that job involved climbing in the roof of the sky dome, and I did that for 10 or 12 years.
hmm.
Uh, so I think my work environment has always been inherently dangerous. So
So you worked
uh,
above, and now you work below, eh? Cool.
that's right. That's a joke. So that's why I say that a rigger and grave digger. I went from 300 feet in up above, and now I'm 300 feet down below. Uh,
What would your job title be right now? What would they call you? Like, if they, hey,
um,
what do you do for a living? So what would you call yourself? Huh?
lab- laborer. Yeah,
Laborer?
that's it.
Nothing more fancy specific. Like I'm a deep digger dugger.
No, no, nothing fancy. No, I mean, it, I think labor, and I think I'm proud of that in a way because it just means that there is no one specific task that I'm particularly dedicated to, and that it just means that it's like a craft in a way that you need to know how to do a lot of different things because a lot of different tasks are required in order to do this kind of stuff safely and effectively. So
Did you and your buddy put your little name on any concrete?
oh yeah, but there's some like there's some good natured horseplay, and I think when you're working in like dangerous environments that you develop a real camaraderie with
Yeah.
coworkers because you have to rely on them to be
Mhm.
uh, mindful or observant and aware, and you're really trusting them, especially like in a tunnel. It's a confined area, and we have equipment down there, excavators and skid steers and all kinds of uh, trains in some cases. You really have to trust the guys that you're working with to be vigilant and to give a shit about you, and you have to be able to trust them because in many cases you have to work in close proximity to these
Yeah.
machines, and that yeah, I'm not sure how I got on about that, but there's something about living or working in a life-threatening situation that really makes workers bond together.
Yeah,
And,
it's true. So true,
but
'Cause-
I just it is actually a really uh, dangerous job. So, and just yesterday, uh, a man died on a tunneling project in Mississauga,
oh, really? Wow.
right at here, Ontario, and Burnhamthorpe.
Hmm.
Uh, and this guy was 54 years old. And one thing that I'm thinking about is that, you know, based on the hours that we work, he would have had his credits ready to retire, early retirement at age 55. So this guy was less than a year away from being able to retire. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
and now he's, I and this is the second worker uh, that's died in this industry in Mississauga in as many years. Another worker died in 2021 on another tunneling project right on Cawthra Road. So, I mean, yeah, it seems like it's an exciting and interesting job, fascinating, right? But there's a certain grim reality um, and that goes along with it, and I would say that they're really necessary uh, projects. This isn't just we're not building iPhones or something like that. We're
Well, it's
doing
vital
stuff
for the community
that's
life. Yeah.
vital for the community in order for everyone to enjoy the convenience of indoor plumbing
Yeah.
and also to keep our drinking water safe. So it appeals to me in a certain way because I pay my taxes and my taxes are funding these necessary infrastructure projects, and that's what affords me the lifestyle that actually it's a good thing. Like I'm happy that I pay property taxes. It means I have a home. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
But
So,
it must
but
feel pretty good inside, like you're doing something for the community, like you look back and go like, I help get that going for people, like you're doing community work, even though you're not in the election anymore, and you're still doing stuff for the service, the public, you know.
it's not really quite as as sexy as the subway or something like
Oh
that.
no, no, but still, it's still what that is vital, right?
It's not like when it's done either. It's not like I'm able to point at something and be like, I did that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, no, but it's
when
still
it's all
part of
done.
the. I call it like call it the hidden essential services, right? Because
Yeah,
your mark, right?
yeah.
You took a lot of pictures from your job, like as you're doing your job.
Not not really. I find some guys are fascinated with this whole thing and taking pictures and
You told me that they're doing a doc. Yeah, I know they're doing a doc.
check
They're
out how
doing a
cool.
doc. You said they're doing a documentary. You told me the other yesterday. You told me.
Yeah, there is one.
Yeah. And then
Also,
what? Tell the funny story. What you told me what they wanted you to do. Remember?
oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Tell that. Tell your story. That's hilarious.
I think so. It was operating the conveyor belt system. Um, so obviously, a hole that size. If you think about the volume of a pipe that is 7 meters in diameter and 3.5 kilometers long, I mean, if you were to take that interior volume of that pipe and just pile it all in one spot, I mean, it would be a mountain of dirt, right? A mountain of earth that you would have moved. So we use conveyor belts to, after the head of the machine crushes the rock, it comes out on a continuous conveyor belt all the way out to the shaft, and then on a conveyor belt up the shaft. And I was on the working on the surface, taking care of these machines, and uh, they were shoving the camera in my face and sort of saying, "Hey, can you uh, make some kind of failure happen so that we can record you?" Like trying to like
Make it more dramatic.
so if you think about realistically, there's a crew of like 15 men downstairs.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what I mean? Like working, and you want me to just sort of make something exciting
You just
happen?
and earlier you just said earlier you're practicing safety. It's a dangerous job, and these guys reporters want you to do something dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you want to just
You should have done. You should. You want something dangerous? Let me take out my Jason knife. Which one's was he first? Just kidding. That's dangerous there.
what's it called? It's called Impossible Repairs. I'll see if I can find a link to
Who's
the.
it? Can you? Are you allowed to say who the company is that wants to do documentary, or is that private?
No, I well, you'd see it all. I mean, obviously, this is it's publicly available, so
Is it
you know.
global, or is it one of the news stations?
I think it was Discovery Channel. I mean, but like I guess,
Those guys exaggerate so much.
yeah, I find it funny too when I
You
watch.
should make a show called Discovery. What discovered not really discovered. You know?
Yeah, it's pretty silly, but obviously they're looking for a saleable product, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know,
if everything went
you
perfectly, it would be pretty boring.
should have said, "Listen, buddy, see that rock in my hand? Stand way over there and get the camera pointing. I'm gonna go right at you." I just find it funny, you know. I have buddies in the reporting industry. They say the same thing. It's not dramatic, but make it more dramatic. You know, throw over the board or throw over the ship, or whatever. You know, sink her a few times. See if she gulps her water. I just saw news. I saw, no, your job is dangerous right there. That's news right there. I mean, to them it's not appealing, but but it's how long is the documentary? An hour? Are you in the documentary, by the way?
No, I don't have. Okay, so actually at that time I was sent to go work on the barges. So
Oh,
obviously this tunnel has an end to it, right? And that is where the tunnel is going to connect.
you see, I can't plug you now for your documentary.
You probably wouldn't recognize me anyway with the hard hat and everything on, and wearing is and
You should do get a hold of the master footage and put at the end. Pop your head up with that hat you had on. Show me said and you pop your head. I was there, but I was not available at the
this place of you
time.
shots.
So how did you get into the construction like that part of the job? Anyways,
So yeah, I was a stagehand uh, for over a decade, right? And but around 2008 and 2009, uh, there was a massive contraction of that industry. So prior to that, we used to do setup for lavish corporate events, and that market crash, you know what I mean, and sort of subsequent economic disaster that happened around 2008 and 2009 meant that these companies didn't want to seem to appear to be rolling in dough. So they really pulled back on having these corporate events, and it caused a real contraction of the work available for stagehands in
yeah,
Toronto, right? And it coincided around the same time with the the auto show shrank significantly, right? We didn't want to look like, oh, look at this big show that we're putting on when we just had to beg the government for money in order to keep the doors open. So it was around that time I started working in demolition at that time in order to make ends meet, going into an abandoned power plant and you know what I mean, looking for copper and aluminum in order to pay my rent, right? And it was at that time that I started to make some connections or meet some people that were involved in the construction industry, right?
So one thing leads to another, kind of like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, uh, yeah. That's a funny thing about when people talk about their jobs or whatever. I guess it does kind of, I don't know. Nobody's born into a job, I don't think, but it's really a matter of just a whole bunch of circumstances that happen, right?
Yeah. Hey, are you allowed to tell anybody what the next future job is, like major job after this one? Are you allowed to? Is that still hush hush about it?
Oh God, no, I mean that's all a matter of public record also, right? Like these projects don't you would think that they have something to do with, you know, city council or something like that, but they're in many cases planned 10 or 15 years prior to a shovel ever going into the ground.
Well,
There's
before city council? My gosh, thank goodness.
yeah, maybe sorry, these projects they were set in stone long before you were elected, kind
I
of.
guess the majority vote ain't going to count on this one, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, they're going to do more of these. If this one, especially if this one is successful that we're working on, they're going to build a lot more of these outfall
That's
tunnels.
great. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love that. We got about less than
It
2 minutes left. So,
by very quickly.
want
Yeah,
to add anything or tell me or whatever?
I don't know. Yeah, a bunch
I
of
know.
good.
I'll ask you quickly before I get cut off. What do you like doing for hobbies? What do you like
Oh,
besides? Yeah.
so I'm lucky. My son is 15, and I think I'm probably basically an immature young man myself. So
Oh, father and son fun. Yeah.
yeah, it's offered me an excuse to enjoy all sorts of hobbies that appeal to him, as well as to myself. Like you probably noticed that we've got some toys in the background there, and we've yeah we've got probably about 7 or 8 remote control vehicles, and yeah, so it's really neat, and it's been great for us to learn how to maintain and repair these things.
I
They're
got
almost
sorry, got about 1 minute, so I'm gonna end it here before I get cut off here. Anyways, I'm gonna send you the videos when I get it transferred over. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I love people talking about different jobs, especially your job. I think it's neat. Some people may think it's boring, but I think it's vital to the
oh,
community.
it's boring. It's boring. All right. Yeah.
I think it's boring. I love it. I love some of that. But thanks for coming on the show, and we'll talk again, and maybe to see what your progress in your job and all. But anyways, I'll send you the video. Appreciate you coming on the show. Like your company, I think you're great. Next time, do more impersonation. You're good at it.
All right. Well, thanks. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
love it. Thanks for just chatting, shooting and just see how it is. Anyways, have a good weekend, and I'll send you the video, and I'll keep it out. I'll do a couple tweets back for you. Yeah,
well,
zoom in and all that. Yeah. Next time
first,
we'll talk about your racing cars next time over there.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
Got to mention that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.